My bad. I did not make sure to check the audio before we started. That is completely on me. Thanks for letting me know in the chat. Sorry guys. Anyway, so today's just gonna be a pretty casual stream. I haven't been super inspired to do Minecrafty stuff, especially in vanilla, but I still wanted to hop in here, give you guys a chance to ask me some questions if you wanted to, or just see a little bit of work being done on Tretogor. Kind of feel like I want these cliffs to be a little bit more cliffy, say. We're gonna have to come in here with some smoothing tools for sure. And there are some spots like this where I'm not, like, this overhang feels a little bit silly, maybe a little bit too much. This overhang though, I like the way it kind of curves out. That's fine. Although I think maybe, oops. Maybe we could come in with something a little bit more like that. And again, we'll come in here and smooth it out. I'm working on the, you know, the big shapes right now. I think I want this to be like a beach sort of area with a lot of sand. This bit here though just sort of feels doughy, so I think I'm gonna have to trim this back and maybe add a little bit of definition. This also needs to be trimmed back. But we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. It's a slow process. But I do think in the end, this is gonna look better than vanilla Minecraft terrain. And that's the goal, you know? Come in here with just a little sphere, make sure we're filling in all of our weird little pothole sort of things. And then we can come in with our smoothing tool. This here you can see I've already kind of smoothed out. I think it's maybe a little bit too smooth, but that's supposed to be grass anyway, so not the end of the world. And here I want to buff it up a bit because I kind of want like a wall coming out. A crumbling wall, I think, but you get the idea. So for anybody who missed the last live stream, this is basically a big sort of Italian Byzantine inspired city. And the idea is that this is old Gedem, and that's why we have a new Gedem, because this place kind of started to go to ruin and it sucks. But it's not only ruined, it's ruins that are being reclaimed. So there are people who are currently trying to make a new home out of old Gedem, but they're not necessarily the original inhabitants. So I don't think they're necessarily going to have the same kind of priorities as the original people, which means you'll see some spaces in the city where there are going to be like farms and ruins and stuff, and people are just sort of doing whatever because they're not here to like preserve stuff. They're not archaeologists. They just want a place to stay for the night. And sometimes that means making your house in an old ruin. So yeah, I think Old Gedem is going to add some interesting stuff to the world once it is fully done. I do have some other ideas for Tretogor. I talked last time a little bit about maybe doing something like a Japanese village. I mean, I've been having a ton of ideas. I've been thinking about doing more castles because if you've seen Tretogor, you probably realize I have a real fondness for castles. Hello, Uncle Baya in the chat. I always loved me a good castle, so. Unfortunately, I feel like these cliffs are really going to be a little bit lumpy. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. I think probably this area should be like rolling hills with farmland. Maybe abandoned farmland, like maybe just empty fields where it looks like they used to plant flowers or wheat or something. I want this side to kind of slope down more and that side to be a little bit more cliffy and jagged. Just adding on a little bit of mass there so it doesn't feel too flat. Okay, so I think we have our basic shapes in. We need to start getting in some of the finer details. So I think the first thing I want to do is kind of smooth out some of these weird bumpy bits. It's been so long, I've kind of forgotten where some of the Axiom tools are. Here, we'll go in with a real fine-tooth comb. Hello, Herson. Yeah, I always do my streams at different times, but I know not everybody can ever make it to a stream, unfortunately, but I am always glad when people have the chance to stop by and just chat for a few minutes. As you can see, we are currently terraforming this big Axiom cliff. If you guys have questions about my terraforming, about Tretogor, or about, you know, anything like that, about Axiom even, let me know and I can try and cover some of that stuff in the stream. But otherwise, we're just going to take things pretty breezy and do some of the kind of repetitive work that is well suited to live streams. You can see this beach here is still, this is messy. This is, I need to do something better with this. And I feel like maybe my smoothing is a little bit too strong right here. But slowly we are going to get a real, well, not real. We're gonna get a mountain here that looks something like a real mountain-ish, hopefully. I can't promise it'll look realistic. But hopefully it'll be interesting, and that's what counts. Have you ever considered colony settlements, like further away towns considered under Newport? That's an interesting question. In my mind, all of Tretogor Province is kind of like colonial in the sense that I never really get the sense that these people have been here since like the Stone Age. I always got the sense that different people sort of migrated, but like none of them are that old per se. There is the Rosewood Port, which is just a little bit over there. And the Rosewood Port to me is more of a colony. But I've never really thought about doing like an official colony. A builder friend of mine has this kind of colonial city called Fridertown. And I think it is interesting to consider. This smoothing is not really smoothing out as much as I would have hoped. There we go, that's a little bit better. Still looking a bit bumpy here. I think I might have reduced the smoothing a smidge too much. It's always a weird sort of back and forth trying to get it to not look totally boring, but not jagged. Don't want it to look like block vomit, basically. I need to get rid of this. Hold on. I need to... Let's melt this. Let's melt this down a little bit. Slowly but surely, just sort of bring it down. There we go. I think there's some bumpy bits around here too. Like this really sticks out, and I don't really want it to stick out quite that much. I want this to feel more precarious. And I'm trying to go with more diagonals here because obviously the more like diagonal, triangular you sort of make something, the more dynamic it's gonna look, which I have a whole video about, incidentally. In my last visit to Terra 1912 yesterday, I got to explore the recreation of the Roman Forum. Reminded me of your current project in Tretogor. That's really cool. I definitely based this off of you know how like people in the Middle Ages treated like the Colosseum and stuff. I think it's really interesting what happens when, you know, people go into a place and they don't, well, I say interesting. It's sad and it's heartbreaking and it's a lot of things when people go into a place and they don't really respect what was there before. But also, like, human beings are human beings and they're gonna be where they want to be. So I think there's some interesting storytelling stuff that we can do in Minecraft with that. Because Minecraft is basically all environmental storytelling. Unless you're placing down books in your world with like lore and stuff, which I know some of you guys do, but most of us are not doing that. Most of us are working purely with what is environmental, and it's really interesting to consider what kind of stories are like well suited to environmental storytelling, and one of them is time and changes over time. You know, things like stratification, layering. It's really cool to see a Minecraft build where you could see the old stuff and the new stuff side by side, I think. Gonna blend some things into the ground just a bit more, because there's some spaces like this where it just looks weird. I don't know. I think maybe we need to go a little bit wider and kind of smooth some of the stuff out, because I'm gonna want to work in here at some point. Like I said, ideally this would all just be sort of like fields or farms or something like that. There we go. We're getting somewhere. I think, I don't know how hilly this should be though. I did come in after the last stream though, and I've been working on, incidentally, I've been working on a stream. I've been working on this river, which I think is a bit too deep, but I wanted to have lots of little like little deltas and islands and stuff in it, trying to make it feel really dynamic and make it feel like a real river. But unfortunately, I can't really make it deep if I want it to look like this, because then it just looks weird and fake. So even though I kind of dug this whole thing out with like TNT, I need to basically raise the water line everywhere so that the shore feels like natural. Anyway, there's so many different parts to like terraforming. I've been working on my tree models. I did some more like birch trees and elm trees and stuff. I'm still not sure if this river should ever be 3 blocks deep. I think maybe it'll be better if it's never quite there. Because I think it just feels more like... I want this to basically feel like a river where it's really low, the water line currently, and like sometimes it gets higher, but right now you're meeting it at like a low point. Oh, that's silly Axiom stuff. So yeah, I want to make it feel like it's really shallow right now. Low tide, that's the word I was looking for. If you guys are interested though, at some point in this live stream, I can show you what I've been doing in Westeros Craft. Like, I've never showed that kind of stuff on the channel, but if that's something people are interested in, I can start showing it a bit more. It is a lot of what I've been spending my time on lately, but I know I didn't really build my channel around, you know, kind of Game of Thronesy Westeros craft stuff, so I don't want to inundate you guys with like stuff you're not interested in. That's why for right now I am in Tretogor, because I know that's kind of, that's the basis of this channel in a lot of ways, has been Tretogor. I will say one thing that's a lot nicer about vanilla Minecraft is that we don't have dirt layers, because modded Minecraft does. And filling a whole river with dirt layers is one of the most tedious things in the world. Even this to me is... I would never do this in survival. To me, this is just like insanely repetitive. I'm not even sure how long I want to show it for on this stream. But I think we can make this look like a good river. I think having some partially sunken islands is gonna look good too. Not partial, like places where the stream kind of like split when it was lower, but now it's all underwater. Sort of like rapids, I guess. I don't think I want any of it poking above the water. Maybe one or two, but mostly it should just look like that, I think. And I'm fine with having a few of those here and there. So somebody asked me if I was gonna show what is beyond the Tretogor gate, and I've been thinking about that. So my plan with the Tretogor gate, if I ever like end up building there, is to potentially make it be all overgrown with mushrooms. I was thinking maybe having some sort of like weird infected looking fungal architecture could be pretty cool. Sort of inspired by like The Last of Us, but from some other stuff too. If you've ever played Baldur's Gate 3, Baldur's Gate 3 has like the myconid colonies of like mushroom people. And I was thinking maybe the idea that there are like weird alien species like just outside Tretogor is something that would be fun to play with. But creatively right now I'm kind of in a space where I have like a million ideas that I want to start and none that I want to finish, if that makes sense. I think we all get into phases like that. To be honest, the only reason you guys haven't seen me start like a bunch of different projects on this channel lately is because I've been in school. But if this was like summer break or something, I would have a billion different things going on right now. And I'm currently clearing out some more trees because this landscape here is like super ugly and I can't really landscape around the landscape. I gotta de-landscape the landscape before I can landscape the landscape, you know? Like this cave here, I have to fill this in. And I also have all these weird like bugged out trees that just look gross because Minecraft chunk border glitches. I don't think I'm gonna worry about this. It shouldn't be visible from any part of that project. But like this is. This needs to go. And I think this big tree needs to go too. Sometimes the journey gives more meaning than the finish line. I agree. I agree. And right now my journey with this project is doing it on Livestream. And that's what's giving me meaning. I don't know. Most of you guys in the chat are people who play Minecraft yourselves. So does anybody have an interesting project that they've been working on that they want to talk about? Look at these bugged out trees. It is really gross. Some really gross terrain around here. I wouldn't have built in this part of the world except for the fact that there aren't that many more good places to build, so now I'm like stuck building in the bad places basically. Like, look at this. This is gross. This is terrible. A terrible Minecraft terrain. But anyway, we work with what we've got, and that's why we terraform, you know? Gotta try and make this into something pretty. I think this whole cluster of trees is just bugging me. Okay. We are going to apply my... here we go. Land clearing. We're going to apply a land clearing brush and just fill it with air. And destroy the trees, basically. We will add new trees, but I think the current trees need to go for me to be able to terraform this. Because right now I can't smooth out the terrain while the trees are here. And without smoothing out the terrain, it just looks weird. It just doesn't connect well. Joaquin saying, I've been wanting to build a functional villager town or city. I need to think of the thematic. Man, it's been so long since I've done anything with villagers. I would never build something villager focused in Tretogor though, because you have to like villager proof everything, and that's just kind of a nightmare. I find villager proofing always makes things look ugly. Even like, this is peaceful obviously, so like zombies aren't gonna get them. But you know, the villagers are gonna like jump off stuff and die. I don't want to discourage you from your project. Just talk about my own experience and why I don't, you know, why I don't really go for villagers in my builds. I always like the idea of having some kind of movement though, you know. Minecraft recently added the mannequins, which kind of work like NPCs. And I think that is really cool. Hello, Piggy. I only play when the Tretogor drop hits. Could add weeping trees. Yes, I do have a few of those, and I will. That is a good idea. I probably will do a few of these. I'm the Mexico City guy. It's been my main project for quite a while now. I miss my old style of gameplay, like building whatever I wanted in a moment. I get that, yeah. By the way, if you guys aren't in the Discord, the stuff Hersan has been building in Mexico City is really amazing. Definitely props to him. There are so many amazing builders in the Discord, but some things you just have to see to really get them, and I think Hersan's builds are one of them, because I cannot hype them up enough. But I think we all get to a point where, you know, you're working on a project and you just sort of feel like, I wish I was doing something else. I built this after doing... Sorry, I just moved my microphone. I'm building this place, and the last thing I built was more realistic, so I'm kind of flipping back to more cartoony for a little bit. I kind of tend to go back and forth, especially in Tretogor, between like when I want stuff to look more cartoony versus more realistic. Because I like doing both, but I find the realistic stuff like feels the best to be in, but the cartoony stuff can be easier, and it's more like it can be more rewarding to just build something super big and colorful like the Tretogor Gate. You know, if I was only restricting myself to doing like the more realistic Brewerstown type stuff, the Tretogor Gate wouldn't exist, and that's one of my favorite builds. But at the same time, I really like Brewerstown. Look at that dang chunk border tree. Sometimes, man, sometimes the Minecraft terrain just gets me. Sometimes skill gives a feeling of nostalgia to the moments where the fun was the driving guide and not quality. Yeah, I think I get what you mean. But like we were saying earlier, it's the process, you know. Once you start agonizing over the product of what you're creating is when you start like hating your builds and finding it not fun anymore, from experience. I have a really old video on this channel talking about that, talking about my burnout and stuff, but yeah, I always try, like, my motto for not burning out basically is process over product. Always focus on what you're doing, not where you're gonna be. Which isn't always easy, but I do think it is the way you have to take things, basically. Otherwise it'll just drive you crazy. So I don't know, I feel like for a kind of like Byzantine Mediterranean style thing, this should be like sand. I mean, I could make it like gravel, but I feel like that would be too... Again, I'm going for kind of cartoony, so I feel like sand would probably just feel the best, like color-wise. Minecraft sand is really bright. It adds a real pop of color. Now I need to do something. Now I need to do something here. Lord only knows what. I think first order of business is I need to make this sand kind of... No. Sorry, there's like a million steps. First order of business is clearing out the sea. Because if I start trying to do landscaping while there's the landscape, it's going to cause problems. You know how it is. Of course, there's the lily pads and there's the kelp and there's, you know, there's everything, but the more of it I can get in the beginning, the less of a pain it's going to be for me. You can see it leaves like weird bits. Inevitably. And then you get pieces of floating kelp in the sea. My main way of keeping building fresh is making story through my building, like building tents in a settlement before making houses and so on. Even if it delays in the end, it gives meaning. I think that's really cool. Yeah, I totally agree. There's only so many different... Like, realistically, there's only so many different, like, building techniques and stuff you can, like, learn, especially, like, in a year. You know, maybe, like, I'll learn a cut, like, one every few months, but... You can always tell a new story, and you can always come up with a good narrative and stuff, and I think that definitely keeps things fresh. Okay. Now I gotta get rid of the lily pads. I think lily pads count as air blocks. Yeah. They don't count as water. I can get rid of those, and then we can do something with this terrain here, because... Good golly, it is ugly. It is ugly. Okay, so let's see. Oh my god. Yeah, instantly it's just... This is... There's a reason most people don't ever terraform underwater, even with Axiom. Ah, huge pain. Huge pain. But we're getting somewhere, right? I think I need to remove this beach. And kind of shave this down. Because I want this to be like a harbor. I like the idea that there's like maybe 1 or 2 little boats here, but this is like a natural kind of horseshoe shaped harbor. So it's getting somewhere. You can see the progress. You could add a sunken ship. That's not a bad idea. I've never built I've built shipwrecks, but I've never built like a ship that sank to the bottom of the ocean. Oh, hold on. I need to share something with you guys. If you don't know what this is, okay, there's this famous shipwreck. It's called Ulu Barun. Basically, it's this ancient ship that sank off the coast of Turkey, and we don't know where it was from, but it had all these bits from different parts of the Mediterranean. Like, it had stuff from Lebanon, stuff from Syria, stuff from Egypt, the other parts of the Levant. It had stuff from the coast of Libya, from Greece, from Italy, from Cyprus. It had things like all these like copper bars and pots and stuff in the bottom. And I think Ulu Barun would be a cool little thing to add to this build, especially keeping with the whole like ancient ruins aesthetic. Sorry, I'm trying to keep things more focused on this live stream, but I get passionate. So the idea is that this red is gonna be basically where some sand is, and then this is gonna be more like stone. Okay, my issue, hold on. I know I just said I wanted to keep things on track, but I have an issue, and my issue is struggling with block palette. I want to make a dark stony cliff, you know, like dark brown, because I thought it would be kind of nice if it was like, you know, if it was darker than the city, but not necessarily gray, because gray is boring. The issue I have, though, sorry, I had to take a water break. The issue I have is that Minecraft doesn't have the blocks that I want, you know? So I tried to make a gradient of like kind of dark brown, like stone gradient, but this is the best I came up with, and I was not happy with it. I can show you how it looks because I saved it. I think it's called Dark Cliff 4 or something. Hold on, I usually label my things pretty well. Might be called Get 'em Cliff 1. There we go. So this was the kind of cliff terrain pattern I came up with. And I'll be honest, I wasn't super happy with it. So it's supposed to be like sedimentary rock, obviously. Like it's supposed to be like the striations in the stone. And look, some things you just can't really do with Axiom. So, you know, I thought about like, okay, I should go in and hand paint it. But the thing is, I'm not sold on this gradient. Like, this still doesn't feel like it's like colorful enough to me. It just feels like it's mostly gray, and I feel like especially from up close, it doesn't gradient well. I don't know what you guys think, but Joaquin's saying, I think the ship idea sounds cool. You could add features from different cultures of your world. I think that is a great idea. I will 100% do that. I think doing like some pots that come from maybe, I mean, hey, doing some copper from Newport, some pots that come from Bexel, maybe some stone from like the Castle Stoneheart area, something like that. You could add terracotta. I have 2 terracottas in here. I'm using gray and brown. In my town at the river, you can see sedimentary layers, and there are dark colors, but also some whiter tones too. Yeah, that's a good point. So I have this cloud here. It's a gradient cloud. You can summon them with Axiom. I might need to look more at some references because I didn't build this off of... Hold on. I want to make sure that doesn't get stuck there. Let me Control Z. Okay. I mean, obviously I could make it silly and make it like pink. I do think it needs to be like, I think it needs to be darker than the town so that the town really stands out. And I was thinking of making the town in a lot of these like orangey, reddy kind of colors. Herson saying, I think it can work maybe adding some additional gray blocks to complement the mud. That's not a bad idea. One of the other gray blocks I was considering was pale oak wood, but we have some others. So around mud, where's mud? Where is mud? Mud is here somewhere. There's mud. Whoops. Oh, I could go for gray wool. Gray wool goes well with mud. Or gray concrete. I think gray concrete might be a little bit I think gray concrete might be a little bit too static, too plain. And gray concrete powder is like here, it's a bit too light. Here it is. Maybe I should try gray wool. Hold on. Coming up with these gradients is always hard. Like I said, don't take like this kind of like striped effect to be like what it's gonna look like for sure. You know what? I do think it looks better with a little bit more gray in it, incidentally. I feel better about that. Hold on. Let's flip back. Because I can do this. I can show you guys like a rough idea of what it would look like. Block equals netherite. So look, I would do this by hand, like not hand, but I would do this like more by hand. And it would look something like that. Which I think could be pretty cool. I'm not like a bajillion% sold. I wish there was more red in it, but Minecraft does not have a lot of reddish brown blocks. Like netherrack is kind of like reddish brown in theory, but if you actually look at netherrack is like the most obscure shade of purple in the world. But it's something. I mean, it definitely is something. Brownish grays are a bit painful to pull off in a game. Yeah. Okay, it's such a problem though, because the real world is so brownish gray. Every tree bark in the world is brownish gray, except for like birch bark, but Minecraft doesn't have a good brownish gray. So our trees either end up being like really gray or really brown. Like I said, I think this needs some tweaking, but Oh, hello, Silly Mode Zenith. Welcome to your first stream. Sometimes contrast can enhance the opposite color. That's a good point. Maybe netherite. Whoops. Control Z. I think you mean ancient debris, because that's brownish gray. Maybe we can fit that in like that. You know, from a distance it works. I genuinely think it works from a distance. Okay, hold on. Let's... Nope, hold. Let me go back into the test world. Okay, we're back in the test world. Let's reevaluate our palette. So right now, this is how things stand. Right now it is a 9-block palette, which may be a bit much. Especially in Minecraft where the blocks don't really tend to gradient the best. Maybe we could remove, I mean, this is a brownish gray, but maybe we don't need that. And then maybe we do, I don't know. Let's see what else looks like ancient debris. Ancient debris is here, and it looks like a jukebox. Crimson stem, bit reddish. Crimson stem is a bit reddish, but crimson stem also has a glowing texture. Which bugs the crap out of me, because I can't... Well, I mean, that would imply some different things. It has its own implications. I'll say that much. Yeah, you can see there's like this weird air gap here between the reds and the browns. Which is really annoying. First stream too. I love your content and I always return to the video you made about ideas for Minecraft worlds. Oh, I'm glad you like that one. You can also add moss if you want to add some contrast. That's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so where are we now? Black terracotta is kind of red. I don't know if I can fit this in anywhere productive, but... I mean, it's really dark though. If you guys aren't... Sorry, bad throat. If you guys aren't familiar with all the different Axiom features, this is... I mean, you can see a lot of the really useful ones right here. Like, it can help you come up with a gradient or find similar colors. And then if you say like, okay, I want something that looks like spruce wood, I want it to be a little bit more green, you can slowly shift into some of these things. And if you say like, okay, but I want it to be a bit more, like a bit paler color, you can go through the whole thing, which is really cool. Axiom is absolutely my favorite Minecraft mod. I think it makes building a completely different game. And it cuts out a lot of the stuff that I didn't really like in Minecraft building anyway, to be honest. See, these feel too dark to me. Creeping moss blocks from the shore upwards. Maybe, but I'm going more for sand. I'd say the only problem with moss is it's a bit hard to blend with darker blocks. It is. Moss is difficult. I mean... Yeah, the problem with moss is that you kind of have to go through like brown if you want to touch a lot of other colors. Because it's green, and green doesn't really sit nicely with the... Green doesn't sit nicely with the class. Maybe the cliff should just be more brown and less dark. I don't know. It's such a tough thing. I mean, every year they add blocks and people say the game is bloated, but somehow every time I want there to be a block, it doesn't exist. But I don't know how much they're really adding. Don't take that as a negative statement about Mojang, by the way. I'm just airing my creative frustrations. Like, what if I just made the cliff red? What if it was just red? You know? Let's try it. Let's just see. I tried a bunch of different I've tried a bunch of different textures for different cliffs and stuff. I think so. Striated is what I was coming up with for Hawksmoor Castle. This is basically the texture of the rocks at Hawksmoor Castle. You can see I was going for a similar sedimentary rock sort of thing. I'm an old hag. I use World Edit. Bro, please, you gotta... I've always been a World Edit hater. I never liked World Edit. I never tried Voxel. Was it Voxel Sniper? Voxel, whatever it was. Person saying, looking at Mediterranean cliffs, they look a bit lighter overall. Well, let's... Okay. I'm trying to think of places in Greece. Crete probably has cliffs, right? Okay, this is really light. Maybe I'm going the wrong direction trying to make it dark. Maybe I'm just trying to build an impossible block palette in Minecraft. Because this is doable, right? Like this kind of stuff. But then I don't know how to make it look good, like with the contrast. Because if my city is darker than my cliff, I feel like I'm going to have some real problems, you know? I don't know where in the world they have dark brown cliffs. I'm trying to rack my brain at the moment. Maybe somewhere in Indonesia? No, that is not remotely. I'm looking up famous cliffs, guys. I don't know. I'm lost here. Ireland. Ireland has dark brown striated cliffs. Okay. I see. Yeah, like this is... Okay, I guess I'm trying to do like the Cliffs of Moher in Minecraft, but like a bit redder, and... you can see the issues I'm having with it. Joaquin saying sometimes the Minecraft community gets free stuff and complains. I agree. I think people get really whiny about it. One time with World Edit, I flooded a world because of a misinput. Yeah, Scotland or Ireland. Yeah, you're right. Maybe I'm just silly for trying to apply this to like. Okay, here's the perpetual issue. I mean, can I zoom in? Here's the perpetual issue. Um, Realism versus what looks good artistically. Because if I look up something like if I look up something like this is fine, but I can't. Actually, this has really dark cliffs, incidentally. Okay, this is using a white color palette with some gray, but that makes it super monotone. And again, like I said, I want to avoid grays, I want to avoid the whites, I want to make this build colorful. And this is just a photo taken at nighttime. But during the day, you can see that's the color I'm kind of going for, is those kind of like dark browny cliffs. Um, you know, so maybe I should go for something like this. You know, go for like some kind of dark browny bits with some whiter highlights. Okay. Let's try to make a new palette. Let's try some new stuff, guys. Maybe we can go for some highlights. And then go for more of like a dark kind of feeling overall. Kind of layering it out like so. This just stands out. That doesn't feel good. I don't really like that in the palette. That's a pretty smooth gradient. Okay, so let's try this. Let's try this. Could be good. You can see I've been cluttering my Axiom by just making a ton of different, like, hold on. Weathered Warp is something I made for the Whaler's Wharf, and I'm never going to use that again. So be warned, the Axiom is only as good as the person using it. So anyway, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Okay, we'll build it top to bottom, right? So it should be raw iron, then mud, brown wool. I could even put in brown powdered concrete to make it smoother, but could make a more sandy coastal place. Yeah, this place is supposed to feel like coastal. It just isn't like as coastal as it should be because I'm kind of working with the terrain I have, not the terrain I want, but this is supposed to feel like it's really by the sea. Like it's a promontory sticking out into the ocean. I just need to trim back some terrain for that to actually like be the case though. Oh, here's a random tip for anybody who's not used to doing gradients. The steps in your gradients have to feel roughly similar, otherwise you'll end up with it just feeling like there's like three, like each jump up in color has to be roughly the same. What is this, gray terracotta? And then dark oak. So let's see if this can't come up. Let's see if this can't be nice. Well, that looks terrible. Hold on. Let's change some settings. Let's change some settings. Okay, well, it's a nice gradient. I don't know how well it will work for cliffs, but maybe it will work. Okay, here's an issue. These two feel too close in color so that when you zoom out, it just looks like one blob. So I need to reduce those and kind of buff up. Hold on. Hold on just one darn minute. I think maybe I reduce both of those and then I introduce the brown powdered concrete right in here. And then look at that one compared to this. Okay, I miss a bit of the darkness. We have to up the darkness a little bit. Okay, let's be smart here. That was at 13. If we bring it out to 5, we can add +4 to each of these, which would be 12.8 and 15.5, I believe. That still feels too light. I preferred the darker one. That's a tough cookie. I would do the whole as browns and then do a stripe that is gray terracotta. Interesting. If you had to choose, what is your favorite architecture style? That's a tough question. There's some... Okay, hold on. Like, there are a bunch of different architecture visuals that I love, but I think the architecture philosophy that fits the best with who I am as a person is the arts and crafts movement, or the craftsman style, if you're American, which is basically a rejection of like factory produced architectural pieces and a return to things that were like done by artisans, but also they took inspiration from like traditional woodworking in Japan. So it's like if somebody was like, hey, the Industrial Revolution is like fine, but what we miss is stuff that has the human touch. And we're gonna go look at some other cultures where people are still doing some stuff by hand, and we're gonna take some inspiration from them, and we're gonna build something even cooler. And they did, and I love that philosophy, especially now in the age of AI. Brown concrete powder is really cool block for terraforming. I agree. I use it. I've always used it in my path. I think we need a bit less of our highlight. $11.7, and then just kind of buff this up. 17.8. Okay, yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. That feels good to me. That... Okay, let's just save what we have for now. Whatever. Okay, I need to give it a proper name. Otherwise, I'm never gonna remember. I'm gonna look at this in like 6 months. I'm gonna say, what the hell is B1? Okay, so let's look back at it. Yeah, literally the Industrial Revolution and its consequences. You're correct. Also, I just think craftsman is a really nice style, and I would love to have a craftsman style house. You know, I'm a simple man. I want things in life. I don't know. So I probably wouldn't make it striated. What I would do is make it run almost the other way, like basically do like highlights on the parts that stick out and then dark bits in the parts that go in. Um, Crazy how different it looks from this perspective though. Whoopsie-doo. Hold on, just adjusting myself in my seat because my feetsies were cold on the floor. Yes, I am a grown man. I'm very serious man. Anyway, what the hell was I doing? Here we go. Yeah, I think going for something like this and then basically having the highlights be like on the brighter points and then having the darker bits be in the dark bits. I think we're getting somewhere genuinely interesting with this. By the way, have you chosen some palettes for the buildings? I've been looking at the Tales from Earthsea concept art and wondering if you'll try some of the reddish color. I will. Okay, I can't go into my saves folder because some of it somewhere is gonna have my real name on it. What the hell's the name of that town? Oh my god. Whatever. Yes. So I've been saving a bunch of these photos and I want to try and do, you know, I want to try and do some stuff like this. I want to try and do like the reds and the yellows and the terracottas and stuff. And that's also why I didn't want the cliffs to be gray, because if you look in the movie, hold on, there's a shot that looks like this, but it's like more colorful. Here we go. Why is this so small? What are we doing here? Okay, if you will examine the film, you can see that some of the architecture is more like in this kind of terracotta color, and then there's layering in what you would build in Minecraft out of like oak wood, stripped bark, stripped oak wood. And then the bottom is like brown. So that's why I was kind of trying to go for that like brown and green like background layer stuff. You should add a seagull nest. I will definitely add some seagull nests. I might add some seagull poop too. But I think this is a good I think it's a good block mix. I kind of showed this off in the last stream, but again, you guys, this isn't homework. I'm not gonna ask you guys to go watch the other stream to know this stream. But yeah, this is, I'm working at it. I haven't actually touched this in like 2 months, so I guess I'm working at it is a lie, but I am in theory working at it a little bit. The reason I wanted to do the terraforming though is because I can't build a palette for this until I know what it's on. That reminds me though, I need to... Ugh, there's so many things with terraforming, my mind is kind of like going all over the place. Okay, I need to fill in the water. Let's start with something reasonable. We need to fill in the water, fill in all the air gaps and air bubbles. Because right now it's kind of confusing me. I don't know what's above water and what isn't. And then we're left with this big mess. And I can turn this into sand. It doesn't really matter. There, now you have a better idea of what it's going to look like. I want this to be sand. That doesn't feel like a good beach though, I'll be honest. I think we still need to work at smoothing this out a bit. And okay, this is what I was saying. I have a tendency to just like flip. Sometimes things take a while to get done because I just sort of go everywhere. I think I need to trim this back a bit so it looks more like the open sea and less like the edge of a random river. Okay, because I'm gonna need to get rid of that because if I cut this out, then I need to smooth out the terrain, and you know, smoothing out the terrain, you gotta get rid of all the trees. Inevitably, I'm just gonna talk in circles. But anyway. Okay, what we can do now is we can melt this a little bit. We can just sort of do something like that, and like that, and like that. And then we'll just smooth it. We'll smooth it all out. The trick is, though, that we're going to smooth it with another melt. Like so, and then we can smooth it like for realsies. Like so. And now this feels a bit more like it's actually at the edge of something, you know? Again, this isn't like the most realistic terrain in the world, but you gotta strike a balance. And this build is, the balance for this build is a little bit more cartoony. A little bit more cartoony. You know, if I was really committed to this, I would just like raise this whole thing to the ground and make it all open sea, but man, that sounds like work. You know, this is supposed to be fun, and that just doesn't really sound fun to me. So here, why don't we fill this back in with water? There we go. Now you can hear the background music again. You may notice I'm constantly raising and lowering the volume. I don't have two monitors. I don't even have one monitor. I'm using a laptop. This sucks. This needs to be better, but you can't do everything, you know? There we go. Just shave it back a little bit. And then it'll be fine. What did I even click? Oh, I clicked on grass. Here we go. It's, you know, we're getting something. We're getting somewhere. I don't know if this can be swamp. It's not even a good swamp. I might completely get rid of the swamp. And this should feel like open ocean or something, so obviously one of the eternal problems with Tretogor is that things get really close to each other. The more I get into terraforming, the closer things feel. it kind of inevitably, unless I do mountain terraforming, and then they feel a bit further, but mostly I don't do mountains. What's your least favorite climate to build on? I'm fine with anything. I don't like, I mean, I can tell you, I don't like what's the acacia one? I don't like savannas. I think Minecraft savannas are kind of bad, but they're ugly. I think they're ugly. That's all. I think Minecraft savannas are ugly, but yeah, other than that, I don't really. In terms of climate, I like any climate. I like the variety, I guess, more than anything, right? Like, it's nice to do a snowy build every once in a while, but if I had a snowy world, I would be so, like, bored. And I kind of feel like, I think most people are like that. I mean, Herson was saying earlier, like, the Mexico City thing, it's a really cool project, but also, if I was just building Mexico City for like 5 years, I would be like, well, where's my snow, you know? Where are my, you know, like, where are my pine trees and stuff? Not pine trees, like spruce trees. I know there are pine trees in Mexico. So this is going to be a path that goes down to the beach. I don't know if it'll actually be covered in grass, but you know, like, it's whatever. We got to start somewhere. We got to start with something. This here will probably be sand. And this needs to, I need to work a bit on that, obviously. This can be a bit lower. My idea is that there's probably going to be an earthquake that hit this place at some point, so. And then finally we can come in here. Here, we'll do like the edge bits, and then I don't know, because I know part of this needs to be cliff, but like most of it doesn't. That might be too steep for grass. No, it's fine. It's fine. There we go. I love a good cliff. Cliffs are great. I think cliffs are one of the like most fun things to terraform, even if they're not easy per se. But it's just something about a good cliff. It's really rewarding. You can see how much progress we've already made in this live stream. It's great. I think the most boring part of Mexico City is its flatness. Yeah, I guess that's what you get when you build build on top of a lake. R.I.P. Lake Texcoco. I think it was Lake Texcoco, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong. I won't pretend I know the most about Mexican history. I'm just a simple Canadian. But yeah. No, that needs to be like that. And then, I don't know. This is a good place for a seagull nest, I agree. I think the soil up here would be really thin because the wind is so strong, and there's, I don't know. I imagine it's just like really rocky soil. See, this just looks silly though. What is this? Okay, that's a bit better. A little bit better, a little bit better. This reminded me of how people in the medieval times saw in the sky the explosion of a far distant star and depicted it all over the world. That is really interesting. Yep, that's the lake. It wasn't even fully drained until the 20th century. Yeah, it's I recently took out a couple books at the library, at my local library, about wetlands in different parts of the world, and it's kind of sad that anytime human beings go anywhere, they're like, let's destroy all the wetlands and make it land that is more productive for humans to be on. And obviously they cause all sorts of ecological disasters, because you know how humans are with causing ecological disasters. But you know, I was gonna fix this, but it might actually make this might actually just look better if it's like a rift. Like I said, there's supposed to be like some earthquake stuff going on, so I might just exaggerate it. You know, I might just say that's you know, it used to be there and now it's not. I don't know. On the other hand, it might mess with my view. I mean, like, not that much. Yes, environmental destruction. I tell you, if there's one thing a human being is gonna do, it's destroy the environment. That seems to be a pretty universal constant. If you guys know your UK, United Kingdom history, the UK used to be all forests. Actually, basically all of Europe used to be a lot of forests, and a lot of it can never really be good forest ever again. Because it was a forest on like really bad soil. So when they cut down all the old growth trees in like the Bronze Age, that stuff just is never coming back. That's why you look at England and it just looks like this weird like wind-blown like hellscape sometimes. Like not everywhere, but when you look at like I don't know, what is it, like Dartmoor? And it's like, yeah, because we killed everything that used to be there and we didn't realize that it wasn't going to come back. Anyway, environmental destruction sucks. It's kind of a dour note though, and I don't want to dwell on it too much. You know, we can't always make the environment go back to what it was, but we can make it still be cool and do cool stuff. Endless skill for creation can also harbor endless potential for destruction. Yeah. Oh, hey, Akashashin. There's also some... There's also some mountains and volcanoes around Mexico City, but building a whole volcano one-to-one is just too much work. Yeah, that's, I agree with you there. Man, you'd have to catch me in a really good mood to make me agree to build a volcano at one-to-one scale in Minecraft. Tell you what. That's weird that did that. Some of this needs to overhang a bit, you know, because I need my like dangling roots and stuff. As Nice Name pointed out, it's literally impossible to build mountains to scale in Minecraft. That is true. It is literally impossible. I mean, you can build small mountains to scale in Minecraft. You can build like I think, what is it, the highest point in the Netherlands is like 100 meters above sea level. You can do that in Minecraft. You can get 100 blocks up, but you can't build like Mount Everest in Minecraft. Hey, Astrotank. Here we're actually making a new forest to help erosion. So for once there is a positive impact. That's great. And yeah, I mean, that's... Every mangrove tree that people plant is... helps with erosion, you know? I know a lot of people like to get real, like, doom and gloomy about climate change and stuff, but... At the end of the day, the only people who benefit from like climate change hopelessness are the people who don't want you to be hopeful in the first place. Like, so my idea is that there was gonna be, hold on, I need to smooth this out. Need to go real small, and then this should be at stable. Maybe this should be at grow. Okay, hold on. I'm doing this in a very silly way. And then I'm gonna take this down a bit. There's gonna be a wall here that'll hide a bit of this somewhat messy terrain. I don't know, there's still some places where it's like a bit smooth, and there's still places where it's a little bit rough. I mean, it's rocks. There's always gonna be places where it's a bit smoother than you want or a bit rougher than you want, I guess. This is gonna be a good spot for like a defensive bastion or a farm or something. I like this. I like the idea that the grass can't reach there. Terraform Earth. Practice at home before traveling elsewhere. I assume this is a new city for Tretogor? Yes, this is an old city for Tretogor. This is Old Gedham. So before we had New Gedham, people had to be somewhere, and where they were was Old Gedham. Unfortunately, really dark gray and really bright green is one of the most beautiful color palettes in the world. I made this jungle terrain just for now because I didn't know what else to make it, because it was swamp and I hate swamp color, but I might keep it jungle. I might keep it nice and bright and sunny. I think this shouldn't be jungle though. This should be one of those ocean ones, maybe lukewarm ocean. Let's see if we can get a lukewarm ocean. There we go. Maybe that'll be too bright. I don't know. Could be too bright. I don't think it is. I think that looks really nice, actually. I think it looks beautiful and sunny, and I think it looks like a place you'd kind of want to be. You know what? I like that. There's a lot of money to be made off of hope and hopelessness. I agree. Off of both, to be fair, but there's definitely a lot of money to be made off of hopelessness. But I think there's a lot more productive stuff you can do with your life if you're hopeful. And I think hope is the human condition. Last summer, I was working in a biochemistry lab. And the guy who ran the lab, he's an old professor. I mean, he's in his 70s or something. You know, kind of, he's from Eastern Canada, kind of old grouchy type. And he told me he isn't a very hopeful person. Like, he said he's like not really optimistic. And I said, I don't think that's true. I said, I think, you know, you're a scientist. If you're running experiments, it's because you have hope that they'll work. I mean, keep in mind, scientific experiments are not cheap. These things cost like thousands of dollars. It takes time, it takes energy, it takes a lot of stuff. And I think even people who feel like they're not hopeful are, I think we're all hopeful. I think we're all hopeful for better things. Maybe that's just the anthropologist in me. I mean, even when people... Here's the thing. Even when people, like, moan and whine about the Minecraft updates and stuff, it's not because they're, like... I think it's because at a very basic level, it's because they had hoped for something else. You know? And they're still hopeful for something else. They think that there's some kind of hope there if they can just express themselves. And they express themselves in ways that are often like mean and hurtful. And I don't think they're right to do that. But I do think they're human to do that. And I think it's something we all do in different ways. Joaquin asking, do you like building interiors? I do. I mean, it gets tiring. Actually, here, I'll pitch this to you guys. There's about 15 people in the chat right now. The video I want to do after next, because I promised a while ago that my next video was going to be about how we depict cultures, and I still want to talk about that. I still think that's really important. But my video after that one, I want to just give you guys 100 different ideas or something like that, like 101 ideas for professions in your Minecraft cities. Because, you know, when you look at a huge city like Regensburg and you're like, oh, I have to decorate, you know, 100 townhouses. Decorating 100 townhouses is boring as sin. It's horrible. I mean, it's really like, okay, this is townhouse 1, townhouse 2, townhouse 3. Terrible. Don't do that to yourself. What you should do is go through and say, this is the home of the doctor, and his wife works as a seamster in one of the textile mills. And maybe there are 2 kids. One of them is working on a farm somewhere, and one of them is working like as an apprentice, and maybe they have a baby. They say it's like a family of 5, and this is what everybody does. And you do that for each house. And then when you get to them, it's not 100 townhouses. It's, oh, I'm building the house for the Smiths. You know, the Smiths where the father is the doctor and his son is his apprentice and his youngest child is working on a farm. You know, there's a lot you can do when you're building for the Smiths, and there's a lot you can do when you're building for the whatevers. So that's why I want to do that video, because obviously you can't have like 100 bakers in your city, but have you ever considered like that there are people whose entire job is to clean toilets? Like, not like, obviously like in the modern world we have like janitors, but there used to be people who would go around to every house and ask for your like bucket of poop or whatever, or clean out your outhouse or your cesspit. So that's a guy's job. You need one of those in your city, right? And you might want a lawyer, you might want an accountant, you might want a this, a that. So I just want to give you guys some ideas for those things, because I think interiors can be really fun. But interiors are fun when you're telling a story. They're not fun when you're crossing off items like off a list, basically. The big building looks like the Hagia Sophia. Yeah, it does. That's partly what I'm basing it on. I'm basing it on a few other things too, like a few other Greek churches. I did copy a Byzantine church plan. But yeah, I think this place is gonna be pretty cool. If you can see up there, I'm gonna put a fake block using Axiom. I'm gonna put a display entity block. And by using a display entity, it'll still let the light come down and shine in here. It'll just look like the light is coming from those big windows, but it'll secretly be coming from there. Because in real life, Minecraft would come down. In real life, light would come down from these windows, but in Minecraft, light is like super vertical, so yeah. Desert has a pretty watercolor. Oh yeah, it does. It has like a really light. Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I gotta remove this like weird poop island. And I think I gotta terraform out this harbor a little bit more. I don't know, this feels like a weird entrance. I need to get rid of these dang lily pads, and I think I need to get rid of the swamp. There's always something, you know? There's always something. I think instead of the swamp, I'll just make it be like a little cliff forest thing. I don't know. I feel like I don't necessarily... I mean, I want it to feel like open sea, but the problem with open sea is that you can openly see things across the water, and that is not chill. That's not what I want. My plan, by the way, for this live stream is to probably go until about 8:30. Make it a crisp 2-hour live stream. But, you know, that's it's a general kind of idea, you know. There's nothing strictly planned out necessarily just yet. Okay, I need to get rid of those. Okay, I need to get rid of these lily pads. Here, block equals lily pad. And then block equals lily pad. We'll paint them all into being air. Get rid of all these suckers. There was one way out in the middle of the water there. I need to get rid of that seagrass. I swear to God, this clearing never ends. It's because I get too sidetracked. I get too ambitious. I start one thing and then I'm like, oh, but it needs another cliff. I don't know what I'm doing here. I haven't even finished my first cliff and I'm trying to plan new cliffs. My mind's kind of everywhere. Okay, so what's happening here? Something weird. Something that I don't want to be happening. I really got to get into the habit of planning out builds more. It helps a lot. Like, okay, the cliff thing, right? It helps to plan it out with like a single block, because then you know if the shape works or not. trying to figure out like all the details at once is kind of a pain. I think this needs to be sand. Hold on. Again, I'm getting distracted. Trying to plan out all the details at once is like a pain, but if you can just block out like the shapes and the layout first, then you can come in and then you can say, okay, this is the palette, this is the gradient, this is the lighting, this is the foliage. You know, you let yourself just focus, let yourself breathe for a minute with the shapes that you have laid down. Here, I think these should be, okay, these should be like really flat cones that point up. And they should meld a lot and they should extend to the ground. They should be made out of sand. Et voila. Now I can just place a couple more here or there. Then I can smooth it out. I think maybe this should be like a small cliff sort of thing like here. Could look cool. Could look cool. I don't want to block the view. But like this is fine. I think this-ish should be the cliff. See ya, Akashashin. Oh wait, never mind. I misread the message. See you, silly mode Zenith. Remember to hydrate. Doesn't the scale of your world bother you? Distances being too short. Yeah, it does. It definitely does. And I was talking about this in the Discord recently. The idea that I might one day like copy paste all my Tretogor stuff into a bigger world with like big biomes and stuff and have like more terraforming and, you know, but like I don't know. For me, the alternative is like having a world where each thing feels like super separated and stuff, and it's like if I build this whole thing, right? And I think realistically, like whatever, let's say this build is done like in the middle of May. Like, okay, and then I have to do the terraforming for like that cliff bit. I have to terraform obviously this whole river bit. I need to make the path, so the path is gonna lead lead to like here, and then it's gonna split for here, and then it's gonna go into the woods for Castle Hawksmoor. And then I need to fill out this obviously with like farms and stuff, and I need to blend that into the terrain. And if you ask me at the end of all that, like, hey, do you want to go build another ruined Byzantine village? No. I want to build a Japanese village, you know? I want to build a city infested by mushrooms. I want to build like a Neolithic Stone Age wagon fort. I want to build a Hungarian castle, you know? And that's, you know, that's basically why Tretogor is the way that it is, because I can never just sit down and say I only want to do one thing forever. I gotta have my mix, and just kind of the way it turned out, the mix is really close. It's a lot of stuff that's really nearby each other. So yeah, like I do kind of wish some things were further apart, but there's always a give and take, and this is my give and my take, I guess. So there's gonna be a wall here. I'll plot that out with something. I'm running out of blocks that I've never used before. Like, I'm trying to use blocks that I haven't used elsewhere, because I need to replace these all, but I don't know what's going to be what. Okay, I think the wall is gonna be 3 blocks. Whoops. Let's say stack. Let's just see what this would look like first, and then we'll make our adjustments as needed. That's what it would look like if it was just a straight line wall. And it might be. Like, obviously, okay, I need a gate, for sure. Right? And I want this place to feel really big, so it's going to be a really big gate. And it needs some towers. Of course. I don't know. Hold on, I didn't check the chat for a second. Doesn't help when the scale of my builds is way larger than 5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, and then you have like the render distance thing where you're like, yay, it's infinite render distance. I can see every build I've ever done. It's kind of like all smushed together. The whole thing. I agree, Harrison. I think the shorter render distance is nice. Also, when you play with a shorter render distance, you don't have to like, again, you don't have to see everything all the time. You can kind of just, you can just pretend that this is its own little world. You could start a new world that represents a different continent. Yeah, I have. I won't go to it, but I have another world that I'm like working on. I'm just balancing Tretogor and that world. All right, my dog is scratching at the door he wants to be in. He wants to be in my room. Okay, apologies. Seeing the world grow keeps me motivated. For sure, I would... If I wasn't doing Tretogor, I would have abandoned, like... I would have abandoned half these projects already. But for me, it's just so much harder to abandon a project when it's like... The world is the project? Like, I can't leave this undone. You know, then Tretogor just has a random, like, half-finished build in it, you know? I can't do that. Let's go back to our references, right? There's a lot of square towers, for sure. But the gates are more round. Port Town, that's the name of the place. I think the towers have to be round. I think they should be semicircles. This. What are we doing here? Okay, it needs to be a little bit bigger. Maybe like 13. Hollow. Okay, okay. Kind of like that. So what if I did the same thing here? Then we would have our 2 little towers sticking out. Obviously on the insides it will be more like that. I can hear my dog licking himself somewhere in my bedroom. It's really gross. Sorry, I got really distracted by that. Can be a bit troublesome when trying different build styles. Yeah. When you said the towers have to be round, I was picturing minarets. No, I just mean it has to be like this, basically. I don't know how I'm gonna end these walls. Probably with some smaller towers that kind of like fit into these buildings. I mean, something like this. There we go. Wait, that's not... Okay, there we go. Yeah, I don't know, something like that. This isn't like foolproof. It's we're feeling it out. Like so. And then I was thinking this here would be a great place for like a little bastion sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe this used to be like a guardhouse. Maybe this used to be a gatehouse or something. Like place where the town guards lived. I'll figure it out. I don't know. Maybe this will just be something like this. Like an old balcony that's like broken. You know, I might just make it like a courtyard with like a small stone wall. Something like that. There we go. You know, just sort of implies that there used to be something here and then it broke away. And I've already decided that this is going to... So this and this are going to be some fields, basically, for the people who now live here. You know, basically, land has become really valuable inside the town, because inside the town is still pretty safe. You know, there's still like a wall and stuff. So they're just tearing down like some old, you know, some of the old buildings that were destroyed by like earthquakes. They're just going to repurpose the rubble for something, and they're going to plant, you know, they're going to plant new life where the old life is gone. And this place is coming together. Another bastion? No, that's not quite the kind of bastion I'm talking about. Not quite what I'm talking about. This here, I might make this also a garden of sorts. Something like that. There we go. Just another little broken bit of a sort of balcony retaining wall thing. Making sure our build takes up the whole visual space. And of course, the more it kind of like comes down the cliff, the more it sort of elongates the build and makes it feel like it takes up the whole space. My dog is being very whiny, unfortunately. This I don't especially like right now. I think maybe if it looked more like that. Hell, what I could do, I could take it out and then that would kind of add to the layering effect. I don't know if I want this balcony to be quite this high, but that is where the window level is. So I don't know, maybe the window level will add another. Like here. It's really weirdly spaced for the street. We need a dog live reaction cam. Ugh, okay, okay. After the stream, when the stream ends in like 10 minutes, I'll give you guys a couple pictures of my dog in the Discord off-topic chat. He's a little Yorkshire beaver. And he's very whiny, and he's very cute, and I love him, but he's entitled. He's a princess. Yeah, I think I'll keep it at... I mean, maybe this could be like 2 tiers, and then it's... I don't know. That feels too low, and the other one felt too high. So that's a work in progress. That's a... I'm kind of running out of like temporary blocks to use, to be honest. I need to start actually figuring out the color palette for this place, because if I keep using these temporary blocks, it's just going to get really ugly and messy. I originally had plans to put some kind of like big aqueduct sort of thing and run it all the way into town, but I don't know how I'm possibly going to make that fit visually. I think the only way I could do it is if here I build a big, like, tall mountain, then I could run an aqueduct like through the city, and then it would lead right here. And then that would add another like vertical layer. I could do that. I might. That could be doable. That could be doable. I won't discount it. Oh, hello, the Muffin Man. Yeah, the things haven't been too active. I don't blame anybody for not checking the Discord or anything for a while. To be honest, part of why I'm recording this, not recording, part of why I'm doing this is because things haven't been too active, and I was hoping that being back in here would give me a bit more inspiration to get into vanilla a little bit again. Vanilla is a strong word, obviously, for what we're doing here, but okay. Let's just see how 13 works. Whoops, that's weird. Like maybe this is a good height. I don't know. Ooh, that's a really bad height. That's a really bad height. It just smushes in with everything. Okay, let's see about that instead. I haven't joined the Discord. Where's the link? If you check any of the videos I've posted in the past like year-ish, there should be a link to the Discord. That feels weird. It kind of feels disconnected from the rest of the town. Because you're gonna see it from like here, so from this view you can't actually see that there are towers. It just looks like a weird puffy kind of bloated wall. So I think what I have to do, I have to, instead of having the towers point out, they have to be centered on the walls so that you can see them from this side. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to rework these. I'll leave myself a melon note. Oh, here's another beautiful Axiom feature. Angel blocks. There we go. You can see there's some other melon notes down yonder. We've been making some good progress. Music loud? Hold on. I'll turn it down. Yeah, music can get a bit loud. This needs to go. That sheep can stay there. I hate that Minecraft farm animals spawn even if you put mob spawning off. I get why they do, but it's really annoying because I don't want these guys here. They're not good for the vibe. I don't know. I sort of feel like maybe this side should be a bit more like hilly, less cliffy, because there's less wind and water and stuff coming onto it. Oh, thank you, Muffin Man. I'm glad you're enjoying checking back in with the channel. I miss doing it. I do. I really want to get back into it. I'd say I've been busy, but I haven't really been busy. I've just been... I've been in like a slump, and I've been spending my time on Westeros Craft instead of vanilla Minecraft, because at least there, when I'm in a slump, and there's people around me like chatting all the time. But if I'm in a slump in my personal world, I'm just sort of it's just me in the game, you know? And if I'm not enjoying the game, I'm not enjoying the time that I'm spending. Right now it's set to grow. I don't really want it to grow. I just want it to be a little bit less bumpy here. This feels a bit weird. I don't know. I might need to raise this. I'll figure something out, you know. As always, it's a work in progress, but there is progress, you know. This house I don't like anymore. So I was following... One of the problems with following the inspiration, obviously, is at some point you're going to decide I don't like what the inspiration did. And, yeah, then you're going to have to do something else. So I don't really like some of those roofs that I was kind of copying from Hort Town. But we'll figure something out. I think this is about it for the stream today, though. I hope you guys enjoyed. It's been nice coming back in and chatting with everybody. I missed it. I want to do some streams, you know, every few weeks, especially for this build. You know, like I was doing with Brewer's Town, I was coming in and I was showing you guys the progress every once in a while. I want to continue doing that with this one. I know it's going to take a few months and, well, anyway. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you are doing well wherever life is taking you. As always, if you have video suggestions or build suggestions, you can send them to me on Discord. You can leave them in my YouTube comments. I try to check those pretty regularly. And this is basically going to be it. So thank you everybody for stopping by today. And I will see you guys next time.